Hey everybody, this is Jennifer Thurman at Nourish Your Future, and I'm making this video today because I received an email this morning from Mike Young at aPlantBasedDiet.org, and he sent me a copy of an article that was titled something along the lines of like, maybe butter isn't as bad for you as we thought it was. And these articles have been really popular the last year and a half, mostly because Time Magazine put out an article about a year and a half ago called Butter is Back. And this is it made all the news channels. Everybody's talking about it. A lot of people have asked me about it. And so the question is, what do we make of this article? And are we all going back to eating butter now that this article has been out there from Time Magazine? So I think there's a few things that we have to understand when it comes to articles like this. The first one is that Time Magazine is writing articles that are going to sell. They're writing things that people are going to buy. And so if they titled an article, Broccoli is Back, how many people are going to buy that magazine? Probably not too many people, partly because broccoli never went anywhere. Like, broccoli has been considered a healthy food for, I think, the existence of broccoli. And so we all know it's a health food. There's no big news on that one. And the other thing is, to quote Dr. McDougall, people are always looking for good news about their bad habits. And so people want to hear that butter is good for you. They don't want to hear that broccoli is good for you. People want to have good information about their bad habits so that they can justify keeping them. So I think that's the first thing that we have to keep in mind, is just the fact that these magazines and newspapers are in the business of selling magazines and newspapers. And so you have to take everything that they have with a grain of salt. The other thing is that the researchers who actually did the research that led to the article, Butter is Back. It's so sexy, isn't it? Butter is back. Anyway, the researchers who did the research that led to that article actually have issues with that article, because their research actually did not lead them to the conclusion that article leads them to. What their research actually led them to was to determine that maybe there's not as much, like, the correlation, the evidence isn't quite there to make a strong correlation between dietary cholesterol and cholesterol levels. So dietary cholesterol that you consume and the cholesterol then found in your blood. So they weren't saying that butter is now healthy and that people should eat butter. They're just saying that in their particular research project, they didn't find enough evidence to link the two. So one thing to keep in mind with that is that they're not the first researchers that have studied cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, and how it relates to heart disease. There's tons and tons and tons of studies out there, and those studies have been really consistent with linking dietary cholesterol levels and heart disease. And so, I mean, the evidence is pretty strong. I mean, it's strong enough that the American Heart Association and also the American College of Cardiology recommends that we consume no more than 5 to 6% of our calories from saturated fats. And for people that don't know, saturated fats or dietary cholesterol comes from animal products. It is available in some tropical oils in the plant world, but for the most part, it's not in the plant world. It's the fat that comes along with animal products. So, and the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association, they're not changing their recommendations based on this one research, because there's just so much other research out there that just really proves that dietary cholesterol does have a strong correlation to heart disease. The other thing that we have to take a look at is we also have to look at the funding that went into this study. So the main researchers on this study actually, the study itself was sponsored by the dairy industry, so that's the first thing to know. And if anybody has seen any of those commercials lately for milk, you can tell that the dairy industry is taking a hit right now. They're starting to attack almond milk and different plant-based milks, because there really is a big decrease right now in the number of people that are consuming dairy products. So dairy industry and also the beef industry, they're very, very strong industries. They're very powerful lobbying industries, and they're also very wealthy. And so they do fund a lot of research projects. And so the dairy industry funded this research project that led to the Butter is Back article. And then the other thing to know is like some of the head researchers, like one head researcher in particular, he is funded by the dairy industry, the beef industry, and also Atkins. So for people that don't know that, Atkins is also a very wealthy organization. They do a lot of lobbying and they fund a lot of research. And so these are clearly conflicts of interest. Like the dairy, the meat, and Atkins should not be funding research projects. It's kind of like a cigarette company funding the effects of tobacco use on people, which actually used to happen. So it's almost like this deja vu all over again, except for instead of dealing with the tobacco industry, now we're dealing with the meat and the dairy industry. So based on these articles, am I going to go back to eating butter or cheese or KFC? No way. Absolutely not. I'm pretty confident that these are not healthy foods. So I appreciate you guys watching me, and if you want to check me out some more, I have a YouTube channel. It's Nourish Your Future 180, and I also have a Facebook group called Nourish Your Future. And please check out aPlantBasedDiet.org. They have a YouTube channel. Just search for aPlantBasedDiet.org, and they also have a Facebook page. So thanks again, guys. Happy veggie eating.